Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Hayden Balgavy. Everyone is we're going to stay cool in the scorching Arkansas heat, especially Arkansas firemen. In 2 minutes, our Frederick Price shows us how a group of Maumelle firemen stay safe. And pediatricians are spreading the word about new life-saving changes to infant sleep recommendations and what parents need to know. Plus, are you being shortchanged by Starbucks every time you buy your favorite cup of coffee? The Verify team gets answers just ahead. But first, let's check in with meteorologist Nathan Scott. Nathan, not a whole lot to say except for one word: hot.
Good afternoon, Hayden. Yeah, it's another sizzler out there. We've got the sun baking Arkansas once again, and the temperatures are off to the races. 96 right now in Little Rock, 97 in Conway, 97 in Clinton. The dew points are higher than this time yesterday, so it feels very soupy out there. As soon as you step outside, you can feel those sticky dew points into the 70s. So it already feels like 107 in the capital city, feels like 108 in Searcy, feels like 103 for you folks in Hot Springs. Heat advisories and excessive heat warnings still in effect for most of Arkansas all the way through this evening. The only good news is there's just a little bit of a light breeze once again, so that cuts down on the edge of the heat ever so slightly. Any cooling showers or storms, it's all quiet on radar, and that chance of a stray shower is probably 10% or less. I think the best chance will be in southeast Arkansas and north Arkansas. But temperatures today, we're making a run at 100 degrees once again. We'll do it again on Friday, but I do have some slightly cooler temperatures and a slightly better chance of a pop-up shower storm coming up. I'll let you know when later.
We can continue this conversation on the heat, and you see them every single day. We're talking about firefighters on their way to an emergency of some sort. Well, the first responders have to wear heavy gear, and as you can imagine, things can get pretty toasty when they're having to do that this time of year. THV 11's Frederick Price shows us there are methods they follow to make sure everyone stays safe in this heat.
There is one thing we know for sure.
That it's extremely hot.
And for firefighters like Tanner Johnson, beating the heat isn't always an easy task.
With the humidity here, your body will not evaporate the sweat like normal, so you're under a lot of pressure trying to regulate your body temperature as normal.
He says in these scorching temperatures, the Maumelle Fire Department brings an extra set of first responders from nearby departments for more manpower.
And we're trying to rotate them through, to where we don't overwork our guys, and then we push them into this heat stroke or heat exhaustion symptoms.
An extra step this time of year because the first responders oftentimes enter burning buildings.
It could be upwards of several hundred degrees inside of some of these homes, and it's hot.
And think about this, in these extreme temperatures, firefighters are dressed head to toe in body gear that weigh nearly 100 pounds.
A normal helmet, full face mask. From there we wear a jacket that's built out of several layers. And then from there we go on, we wear a bunker pants.
Water, of course, is a highly used element in his job. He uses it to follow those simple rules we preach about here on THV 11 that can keep us safe during the middle of the summer.
Before I come to work, what I really try to do is I try to hydrate myself before I come in and make sure that I've had the adequate amount of water.
Despite the extreme temperatures inside a burning home,
you're trying to help people, you're trying to help their property. I'm not as worried about me and the high heat as I am just getting in and completing the job.
These brave firefighters understand no matter the weather, the call to an emergency has to happen.
So, snow to blazing heat, we're going to be there, and we've got to be prepared and ready to go.
In Maumelle, Frederick Price, THV 11 News.
As an added step, Johnson says after firefighters are back at the station following a structure fire, they go through an evaluation and protocols to get fluid treatment to make sure they are well. Well, right now, a third of Arkansas counties are under burn bans due to the heat and dry weather. The latest, Faulkner County, added just yesterday. Now, outdoor burning is now banned in these 24 counties, plus Faulkner, which we just mentioned was added, and it's actually now reflected on that map that you see on your screen. The northern two-thirds of the state remain under a moderate wildfire danger. New at noon, an update to a story we have been following for months. We now know the future of Henderson State University, and it'll look different than it ever has before. Remember, this is happening because budget issues caused the university to cut almost 40% of its staff back in May. The chancellor for the university said that had to happen, and that would not happen, that they they would rather have not been able to pay their staff the last month. But there's new confidence from the state today. The Department of Education and the governor are offering support for Henderson State. Secretary of Education Johnny Key says they're unsure what that will look like just yet, but says they'll be evaluating the university's needs before making any decisions. THV 11's Ian Russell will have more on the announcement coming up tonight at 5 and 6. Benton police tell us that a Little Rock man, Montario Shorter, is in the Saline County Jail on charges that include felony, terroristic threatening, and the kidnapping of one woman and the assault of another at Rivendell Behavioral Services on Tuesday night. Now, Shorter is being held on a $50,000 bond. The case of the West Memphis Three is seeing a resurgence of interest as people around the country offer their help and support. Damian Eccles and his defense team are now in the process of appealing a judge's ruling which denied a petition to get newly discovered evidence tested for DNA. Now, we reached out to the prosecuting attorney and have yet to hear back from them. Well, police say the man accused of killing 7 people at a 4th of July parade in Illinois thought about carrying out a second attack. Adriana Diaz is in Highland Park with more about the victims and, of course, their families.
It was almost as though a light switch flipped and everyone just started running for cover.
Dana and Gregory Ring grabbed their 3 children and ran for their lives as gunfire erupted at the Highland Park 4th of July parade.
The energy just really changed quickly from smiles to just screaming, and then again, pop, 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 pop.
In the chaos, the Rings say they found themselves caring for a toddler.
He was saying, "Mommy, Daddy," so I went back up to look for his mom and dad, and then I saw the scene. Carnage.
The little boy turned out to be a 2-year-old whose parents, Irina and Kevin McCarthy, were among the 7 people killed in the shooting. Witnesses say the boy's father died shielding him. According to investigators, the gunman picked July 4th because he had an affinity for the numbers 4 and 7, but they wouldn't get into his possible motive. Despite previous encounters with police, he was able to legally purchase 5 firearms, including this one authorities say was found in his car. Investigators say after the gunman unleashed at least 83 bullets on the parade, he had roughly 60 rounds left and seriously contemplated carrying out a second attack at a celebration in Madison, Wisconsin.
Indications are that he hadn't put enough thought and research into it.
The suspect was later apprehended after returning to Illinois.
He admitted to what he had done.
Children should not be running for 4th of July parades in the Midwest or anywhere.
The Rings are frustrated and furious this was able to happen in the first place.
The only issue that every single community in America has in common is gun violence.
We just know something different has to happen, and it has to happen like now.
A detective arrived at the Rings home to pick up the little 2-year-old boy. They had to put a car seat into the squad car. He was later reunited with his grandparents. As for the suspect, his next court appearance is July 28th. Adriana Diaz, CBS News, Highland Park, Illinois.
A curfew is now lifted in Akron, Ohio, following days of protests after police shot and killed an unarmed black man last week. A medical examiner says 25-year-old Jayland Walker had 60 bullet wounds in his body. 8 police officers are on paid administrative leave. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin will be sentenced later today to serve between 20 to 25 years in federal prison for violating George Floyd's civil rights. It's part of a plea deal after Floyd died in police custody back in May of 2020. Chauvin is already serving a 22.5-year sentence for his conviction on state charges. WNBA star Brittney Griner pleaded guilty today inside a Russian courtroom to drug charges. The U.S. says she is being wrongfully detained, and supporters of the basketball star held a rally ahead of the trial calling for her safe return home. But Russian officials say dealing with the matter in public isn't helping things. Trinity Chavez has the latest from New York.
Brittney Griner appeared in a Russian courtroom Thursday where she pleaded guilty to drug charges after cannabis oil was found in her luggage in February. She said in court, "I had no intention on breaking any Russian law. I was in a rush packing, and the cartridges accidentally ended up in my bags." The United States says she's being wrongly detained. Last night, supporters of the 31-year-old basketball star gathered at Footprint Center, home of her WNBA team, the Phoenix Mercury, to rally for her release.
I honestly can't rest until she's home.
On the 4th of July, the athlete wrote a letter directly to President Biden, where she said in part she is terrified that she might be in Russia forever. The president responded with a phone call to Griner's wife, Sherelle. The White House says the president told her he's working to ensure the release of Griner, as well as the release of other U.S. nationals who are wrongfully detained or held hostage in Russia and around the world.
We are not going to ever be quiet until she's home safely.
But hopes for a prisoner swap may be dim. A Russian foreign ministry official warned Thursday attempts by the American side to make noise in public don't help the practical settlement of issues. Griner faces up to 10 years in prison. Trinity Chavez, CBS News, New York.
Brittney Griner is back in court later this month when she is expected to officially testify. Well, across the pond, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is resigning earlier today. He addressed the nation, announcing he will be stepping down from the role. Now, it comes after his government's Partygate scandal. You may remember this, where the Prime Minister and his members of his administration ignored COVID lockdown rules and held parties. Well, still ahead, the Safe Sleep for Babies Act aims to get rid of potentially dangerous sleep products for babies. What pediatricians want you to know in 6 minutes. Nathan?
And the sun is frying us once again here in central Arkansas. Temperatures will climb up to 100 degrees, but I'll let you know when the triple-digit misery finally comes to an end next.